All right, you're welcome back. We're moving on now to some other stories. The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI, on Tuesday called on the federal government to put machinery in place to recover unremitted funds valued at about 7.2 trillion naira. That's about the size of the 2017 budget right there. Now, and that's some $21.8 billion from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, NPDC. And of course, to use that money to fund its economic recovery plan.
Well, NEITI says details of these unremitted funds, which NNPC has never disputed, were from Federation asset divested to NPDC and its legacy liabilities, payments for domestic crude oil allocation to the NNPC, and dividends paid from investment in the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, that's the NLNG. Well, other details from NEITI's report included outstanding $1.7 billion from a total of $1.8 billion as a result of the transfer of 8 oil mining leases, OML, from Shell Petroleum Development Corporation, SPDC, and then $2.2 million from 4 other oil mining leases from the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company to the MPDC, respectively.
So many figures there. I hope it's not dizzying for you. Now, the report also showed that about $148.3 million paid as cash calls on the transferred OMLs, that's the oil mining leases, in addition to about $1.5 billion legacy liabilities, as well as about $15.8 billion that accrued as NLNG dividends between 2000 and 2014 were yet to be remitted to the Federation account. NEITI says between year 2000 and 2014, NLNG paid a total of $15.8 billion to the NNPC, which the corporation acknowledged receiving but failed to remit to the Federation account in accordance with the provisions of sections 80 subsection 1 and 162 subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution.
Well, let's take it a little bit further. NEITI says a recovery rate of just 20% of the unremitted funds would offset the projected 2.32 trillion naira deficit in the 2017 budget, and that a third of the computed unremitted revenues would completely eliminate the need to borrow to finance the budget. Now, in 2016, NEITI made some startling revelations about Nigeria's oil sector. It revealed that the nation has lost $5.96 billion and another $20.4 billion naira to offshore processing arrangement, crude swap, and oil thefts. Well, then there's also a loss of about 13.4 billion naira due to non-compliance by the NNPC.
Okay. We have Waziri Adio, his executive secretary of NEITI, right there in Abuja studio. Let's start from the very bottom there, where NEITI actually says, that's what we've just read out, a recovery of 20% of the unremitted funds would offset the projected 2.32 trillion naira deficit in the 2017 budget, and that a third of the unremitted revenues, would actually eliminate the need to borrow to fund the budget. Waziri Adio, what are we to make of this? How was it possible that all of these leakages actually happened in the system? Nigeria has lost some $5 billion to wastage and loopholes that allow for such massive, draining of the nation's funds and revenue.
Thank you. Good morning. That's the question we're asking ourselves too. I want to find out why all of this went on and the country did not pay attention. But we can also explain it by the fact that there was a time that we went through a period of sustained, high oil prices. That we had, oil boom for about 16 years until, the prices of oil fell in 2014 and has remained low since then. So the thing is that when you are awash with money, you tend to just take things easy and you allow kind of things to happen. But now that we're in a hard place, we think that the country should focus on the losses that have been incurred, the monies that have been owed, and see how we can use this to recover from where we are, and also put systems and strategies in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Now, Waziri, if the government can speedily, the word there is speedily access these funds, shouldn't they then take the initiative, get these funds, and jumpstart the economy? But can they, how speedily can they access these funds?
Well, we believe that where there's a will, there will be a way. And we believe that this present government has the will to get all the money that should be available to it, and also the will to straighten out, bad practices that became the order of the day in the past. So, we have made our recommendations. The figures are there. They speak for themselves. There are some parties that might contest these figures. There are people who believe that maybe not all the money will be intact. Our own position is that this is what our studies over time, show. Is it true that NLNG paid between 2000 and 2014 up to $15.8 billion or not? And where's the money? And if anybody is holding the money, why are they holding it? What have they done with it? And should they have spent it in the first instance? And if they claim to have spent it, what did they spend it on? And also, there are some areas that are quite straightforward. If you remember from the policy brief, NNPC divested 8 OMLs from the Shell JV to MPDC. The OMLs were valued at $1.8 billion. MPDC paid only $1. So it's either we ask MPDC to pay up the balance of $1.4 billion, or we return the $100 million.
We seem to be having issues with connection there. Of course, satellite interference.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Now, Waziri. Okay. Good to know that we still have him. Now, Waziri, you said in March that you had discovered. I'm talking about NEITI now. The body had discovered several ways through which regulatory agencies in Nigeria actually help further oil revenue fraud and waste. You want to, expatiate on that for us? And what are those ways that this, regulatory agencies actually collude with the oil sector?
Okay, maybe let's frame it in another way.
Yes.
There are all kinds of abnormalities and aberrations that have gone on, in the sector for too long. I would believe that is as a result of failure of regulation. If you are supposed to, if you have PSCs and the law says that the PSCs should be reviewed when oil crosses $20 per barrel, or even whether it crosses $20 per barrel or not, the terms should be reviewed in a way that will be more economically beneficial to the country, for when it crosses 15 years. And if oil crosses $20 per barrel, if the agreement, the 1993 PSC agreements cross, 15 years, and there was no review in a way that will be more economically beneficial to the country, then somebody dropped the ball. It's not the problem of the operators. It's the problem of regulation. Also, if you have MOUs that are expired that you should renew, and you fail to renew them, there's a problem there. And also, if you were incurring losses at industrial scale, in 2013 we incurred losses of oil through to theft and vandalism, up to $4.7 billion for 2013 alone. In 2014, it was $4.2 billion. So we need to, as a country, resolve that. We need to clean up all these issues. Look at the issue of subsidy scam. There's no way those issues are in court now. There's no way those scams will have been perpetrated if the regulators you know, did their job the way they should. So that's what I'm saying.
And according to you,
it's easy to blame the operators.
According to you, Waziri, somebody dropped the ball, but nobody has been punished for dropping the ball. I wonder how NEITI comes in recommending the kind of punishment that should be meted out to people who are responsible for this kinds of wastages.
Well, we are very, practical about the scope of our work. Our work is to do the studies, bring them into the public domain, make recommendations, and it's now left for others to act. But if we go back to the specific instance of the policy brief that we're talking about, we have recommended that the government should recover the $21.7 billion and the 316 billion naira that NPDC and NNPC are withholding or are holding the country. We have also recommended that the 12 OMLs divested to NPDC that they've not fully paid for or they've not paid for at all should be retrieved and be auctioned so that the country can get a better value for these assets. We have also recommended that the relationship between NPDC and the Federation should be clarified. We have also recommended that whatever has happened to the 15.8 billion NLNG dividends should be investigated. And if some people are found to have committed criminal breach, criminal proceedings should be instituted against them. And more than all of this, we are also saying that this provides us opportunity to reform the kind of system that allowed this kind of aberration to go on for a long time. It was just a period of impunity. And if, there's a reason why we're also bringing this out now. We're bringing this out now because the country needs all the money that it can get. But beyond that, all these bad practices are implicated in the reason why the country found itself where it is being now. So we need to know how we got to where we are. And we can use that, as a guide to how we need to get out of this and make sure that this doesn't happen again. So we're making a case for two things: for government to recover the money that is due to it, and for government to institute thoroughgoing reforms that will make sure that this kind of things will not happen again. Because it's very easy. You can recover the money and you keep the structures and the systems in place. And the present government of the day might have a different body language, might have, a positive tone at the top, but you don't know what will come next.
Waziri Adio, just hold your thoughts. We will get back to you. Just hold your thoughts. Yes. We'll get back to you after this break. We'll take a break and be back. Watching TVC Breakfast. We still have Waziri Adio of the Transparency Initiative. Yes, Waziri, we've talked about punishment, nobody getting queried, nobody getting sacked, nobody brought to justice. The system is not right. But what approach then would you advise the government to take in these cases? Recover these funds, use these funds, and stop these things from happening again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we have made all these recommendations, and we have also shared our brief with the highest level of decision making in this country in different arms of government. I also had the opportunity of briefing the economic management team on Monday, and we also flagged this issue. And we're convinced that government is looking into this. But the point we need to make, which we cannot overemphasize, is that the oil and gas sector is the most strategic sector of our economy today, and it will still remain so tomorrow. So this is a sector that is so critical that we cannot afford to continue to trifle with the way we have done in the past 50, 60 years. So if we need to put in measures to make sure that the country gets optimal benefits from the resources that God has given us, so that it's not just a few people cornering the benefits that should go to the Commonwealth, but that it's actually for the benefit of Nigerians. So in the first instance is how do we ensure that we recover the money that some organizations are withholding and money that we need badly.
All right. Thank you very much, Waziri Adio, for your thoughts.